As mentioned earlier in the course, requirements should be created from a contact record. But when accessing requirements, this can be done via the ribbon on the Home tab. We're going to be looking at the requirement we created earlier in the course. To find this record, we can search via these numerous fields. However, if you know the requirement ID, you can simply type this in here for a quick lookup. To open the record, double-click or press Select. Earlier in this session, we looked at the different tabs of a requirement record, but at the time, no candidates had been attached to this role. In this video, we're now ready to look at the Candidates tab, which is the focal point of the requirement. In here, you will be able to track the candidates you have put forward for the vacancy and progress them through the stages of recruitment. You can now see that we have a number of candidates which have been attached. At this stage, you may wish to review or further filter these candidates. You can do this by using the summary view to quickly access the person's CV, or by using the candidate button to open their record. You can then remove unsuitable candidates by clicking Delete. Depending on your filtering process, you may wish to perform an internal interview at this stage. But let's say we've filtered out a selection of candidates so that we now have our shortlist. The next stage is to send these candidates to the contact. This can be done on a per candidate basis or in batch. When sending a candidate, you will be given the option to generate diary reminders to help you manage your follow-up. The generated email will attach all of the candidates' default CVs. You can then use a suitable template for the wording of the email and send it out. The correspondence is recorded against the requirement record, and there is also a history note recording the event created against the candidate and the contact record. Based on your contact's feedback, you can then record whether the candidates have been rejected or approved for interview. With an approved list of candidates, we can now process the interviews. This is done on a per candidate basis. You will be able to specify an interview date and time, as well as a separate diary entry should you wish to prompt your follow-up on how it went. Your associated candidate and contact will appear here. After recording any necessary interview notes, you can select whether this workflow is to generate a letter, email the candidate, or email the contact. In this instance, we'll select to email the candidate. When sending the interview details, you will be given the option to CC the associated participants, whether they be a candidate or contact. You can then use a template to populate the details of the interview before sending it out. A client's feedback to a candidate is managed through the rejection process, and further interviews are recorded as before. It is also worth noting that there are options to send letters, text messages and emails in batch to any of the candidates attached to the requirement. You can apply a bespoke status to the requirement process and manage these via the status button. There is also a notes option to record any specific details relating to a candidate within this requirement. We are now at the offer stage. assuming that one of the candidates you have put forward has been successful. The offer process will generate the first stages of a placement record. This is designed to contain the initial proposal being offered to the candidate and give you the workflow to track the negotiation. Rejecting the offer will give you the ability to track the reason and close the record. Accepting the offer will convert the record into a placement. At this stage, you'll be given the chance to create a finish date reminder and specify which diary this should be created within. You'll be able to modify the details with any final amendments and then save these updates. The consultant has now made the placement. Depending on your own internal process, the placement may now be passed to his or her line manager to authorise. Also, the process understands that you have an agreement in principle between both parties allowing for the generation of contracts. There is a two-stage authorization process against a placement record. This is designed to cater for a consultant or line manager's initial authorization, followed by a second-level authorization to cover back-office approval. Once first-level authorized, the placement will become read-only. When second level authorised, the placement record is ready to accept timesheets and associated charges, as well as being ready to be processed via the back office workflow, which is beyond the scope of this course. We have now covered the delivery process. The next section will be on colleagues' integration with Outlook.